back, Gothamites. If you're new here, hi. I'm London, aka History of the Batman. This is the weekend. Avengers Endgame is finally out everywhere. I saw it on Thursday night and I had so many emotions, but I absolutely loved it. It is such a fantastic superhero epic film, and if you haven't seen it, you definitely should. And I'm sure there are some people watching this who are DC fans, Batman fans, are like, well, I'm not gonna go see Avengers Endgame because it's Marvel. Well, I need to tell you something. Whether or not you're a Marvel fan or a DC fan, and you think you have to choose sides, I'm sure at one point or another, whether you've read the comics or you've watched other media like film and TV or played the video games, you're like, wow, character A is very similar to character B, which is in a completely different universe. Because they really are similar. There are so many, not doppelgangers, but more counterparts between DC and Marvel comics that you see all the time. And so in celebration of Endgame coming out and just breaking box office records and being such an epic superhero movie, I wanted to combine this hype with our always current celebration of the Batman. For this very comprehensive video, so strap in, I will be sharing my unique alphabet, comparing DC and Marvel Comics characters that are similar in personalities, in power, and just give a very, very general background on each. Because in the end, you will realize you don't have to choose sides between DC Comics and Marvel Comics, because we're all really liking the exact same thing, which is good. The more fantastical stories, the merrier. But before we start learning our nerdy ABCs, why don't you subscribe to this channel and become part of this wonderful Gothamite community. It's fun here. I enjoy it, so come on. Let's have fun. The letter A is for DC Comics Alfred Pennyworth and Marvel Comics Edwin Jarvis. Oh, and by the way, each of our letters of the alphabet reflect the DC Comics character that we're discussing. So J wouldn't be for Jarvis, A is for Alfred, and so on and so forth. Just so you know how this is laid out. Alfred and Jarvis played one of the most important roles in all of the DCU and Marvel universe. And that is the responsibility of keeping their respective superhero families together. DC Comics' Alfred Beagle turned Alfred Pennyworth debuted in Don Cameron's story Here Comes Alfred in 1943's Batman issue 16. As we all know, Alfred is Bruce Wayne's butler, medic, and very sarcastic surrogate father. Now, if we look at Alfred's Marvel counterpart, Edwin Jarvis, he was created by Stan Lee and Don Heck and debuted in 1964's Tales of Suspense issue 59. In the comics, Jarvis has been the servant of the Stark family even after the death of Tony Stark's parents, and was definitely an aide to Tony Stark when he became the hero Iron Man and when he was one of the founding members of the Avengers. Both Alfred and Jarvis have in one way or another contributed to the British Royal Army, are very skilled in hand-to-hand combat, and have had their own personal run-ins with villains. And even though, to assure there was no confusion between the Alfred Pennyworth in the Batman cinematic universe at the time, in 2008's film Iron Man, Jarvis was just translated to a tech called just a rather very intelligent system. Both of these universes and all of the heroes wouldn't know what to do without the glue that holds everything together, Alfred Pennyworth and Edwin Jarvis. The letter B is for DC Comics Batman and Marvel Comics Iron Man. This is the clickbait! Now, do I really think that Iron Man just straight up copied Batman? No. I honestly don't. But if you think about it, they are both genius, billionaire, playboy, well, Bruce pretends to be a playboy, philanthropists who both come from wealthy families and have lost their parents in tragic ways and have used that anguish to become these heroes within both of their respective universes, and they both are founding members of their respective teams, the Justice League and the Avengers. But besides that, no, they're not the same. As we know, Bruce Wayne's Batman debuted in 1939's Detective Comics 27 and was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. And after the horrible murder of his parents, Bruce Wayne swore to avenge their deaths by training his mind and body and transforming himself into the protector of his home of Gotham City, the Batman. And over the last 80 years, throughout all media, Batman has proven to be a true icon within the DC Comics universe. This same thing can be said about his Marvel Comics counterpart, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, who was created by Stan Lee, Don Heck, and Jack Kirby and debuted in 1963's Tales of Suspense issue 39. After being severely injured in a terrorist attack, resulting in shrapnel seeping into his heart, thanks to physicist Ho Yinsen, he created a magnetic chest plate so the shrapnel won't kill him. As a result, Tony has created a continuously charged arc reactor, which spiraled into him creating heavily weaponized suits of armor and becoming the hero Iron Man. Batman and Iron Man are very similar, but their most important parallel is that both of these characters have no superpowers, yet they are still two of the most admirable heroes within each of their respective universes. The letter C is for DC Comics' Catwoman and Marvel's Black Cat. And both of these film fatales are very fierce within their respective worlds. DC's Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, who was originally called the Cat, debuted in 1940's Batman issue 1 and was created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane. And Catwoman has been known to be a world-class jewel thief and a very awesome acrobat. Catwoman's Marvel counterpart, Felicity Hardy, aka Black Cat, debuted in 1979's The Amazing Spider-Man 194. Created by Marv Wolfman and Keith Pollard, Black Cat becomes New York's greatest cat burglar. It has done intense training within the martial arts. Both Catwoman and Black Cat don't just share these parallels, but also have been a part of their own girl squads, such as Catwoman with Gotham City Sirens and Black Cat with Marvel Divas, but also each at one time or another have given their hearts to big icons within the DC and Marvel universe, such as Catwoman with Batman and even Black Cat with Spider-Man. And with this and all of the other characteristics that they possess, it is safe to say that both Catwoman and Black Cat are forces to be reckoned with within these awesome universes. The letter D is DC Comics' Deathstroke and Marvel Comics' Deadpool, and their origin backstory is actually really fun. Marv Wolfman and George Perez's Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, became the big baddie of the new Teen Titans in 1980 and is named one of the greatest hired assassins in all of the DC universe. A decade later, in 1991, writer Rob Liefeld was making a new character for Marvel Comics, and after getting advice from artist Fabian Nicieza, Fabian said, "Wow, that looks just like DC Comics' Deathstroke." Because of this, Liefeld decided to name his Marvel character Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, which is a fun inside joke on the name between creators, with Deadpool debuting in the New Mutants issue 98. While Deadpool may be a fourth wall breaking anti-hero mercenary, both him and DC's Deathstroke have awesome parallels and even a better connected origin story. The letter E is for DC Comics' El Diablo and Marvel Comics' Pyro. And it's easy to say that both of these characters have fiery origins. I'm sorry, it was just really easy. I won't keep doing puns like that. But it's always pun for the whole family, so you may get some more puns. Having three incarnations, Robert Kanigher and Tony DeZuniga created DC Comics' El Diablo, who initially debuted in 1970 and was a cowboy in the American West who became possessed by a demon, which just sounds like a regular Wednesday night for a young person in their 20s. And if you're familiar with the 2016 DCEU film Suicide Squad, Jay Nitz and Phil Hester's El Diablo was one of the main bad guys in Amanda Waller's roster, who was able to control fire and other natural elements. El Diablo's Marvel counterpart was created by Chris Claremont and John Byrne and is named Pyro, who debuted in 1981's Uncanny X-Men issue 141. And here we're introduced to a young man named John Allardyce, who can not only manipulate fire, but has an awesome flamethrower a la Elon Musk. And he uses both of these to do some very bad things. Both DC Comics' El Diablo and Marvel's Pyro have fire in their souls, making them both a relatively hot addition to their respective universes. Okay, the fire puns are done. For now. The letter F is for DC Comics' The Flash and Marvel's Quicksilver. They're both just really fast. That's it! No. DC Comics' first Flash, Jay Garrett, was created by Gardner Fox and Harry Lambert and debuted in 1940's The Flash Comics issue #1. Like many of the fastest men alive that have taken up the mantle over the decades, including perhaps the most popular interpretation, Barry Allen, there is a strange lab accident combined with a strike of lightning that gives these men incredible speeds and reflexes. In 1964 for Marvel Comics, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created Pietro Maximoff, aka Quicksilver, who debuted in the X-Men issue 4 as a mutant who can not only move and think at extraordinary speeds, but also can phase through objects. Both DC Comics' The Flash and Marvel's Quicksilver have become fast fan favorites on both the small and big screen, and each help their both respected mightiest teams. The letter G is for DC's Green Arrow and Marvel's Hawkeye. These two are perhaps the best known archers in all of fiction, even though my personal favorite archer is this one. DC Comics' Oliver Queen, aka Green Arrow, debuted in 1941's More Fun Comics issue 73 and was created by Mort Weisinger and George Papp. Ollie has always been a Robin Hood type that is killer with a bow and arrow. And he is also a billionaire playboy, which sounds vaguely familiar. But once Neil Adams got his hands on Oliver Queen in the 1970s, he made him woke as F. And he actually had a much more liberal agenda and was involved in the politics at the time. But we could talk more about superheroes and politics and everything in another video, if we even want to go in that territory. Ollie's Marvel counterpart is Cliff Barton, aka Hawkeye, who was created by Stan Lee and Don Heck and debuted in 1964's Tales of Suspense issue 57. After a tragic family accident, Cliff decides to train himself to become the world's greatest marksman. And after meeting Iron Man and Black Widow, decided to join the team of the Avengers. Both Green Arrow and Hawkeye are important members within the Justice League and the Avengers, and have gained so many new fans on both the big and small screen. Especially Hawkeye going up against Thanos this weekend in Avengers Endgame. So we should all just wish him good luck. I've seen it and I know what happens, but I won't tell you what happens. But you should just wish all the Avengers just the best of luck. The letter H is for DC Comics' Harley Quinn and Marvel's White Rabbit. Both of these characters are chaotic and crazy, but super cute. I'm sorry. DC's Harley Quinn debuted in 1992's Batman the Animated Series episode Joker's Favor and was created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm to be not only Joker's henchwoman, but his love interest. But over the years, Harley Quinn became an overnight sensation, became part of Batman regular comic book continuity, and gained her own persona separate from the Joker, from an evolution of crazy costumes to getting more awesome weaponry, as her own villains, all wrapped up within her very dope Brooklyn accent. Harley's Marvel counterpart, I would have to say, is Lorena Dotson, aka White Rabbit, who was created by J.M. DeMatteis, Mike Exposito, and Carrie Gamble, and debuted in 1983's Marvel Team-Up issue 131. After having a psychotic breakdown thanks to her husband, Lorena decides to turn to the one thing that truly comforts her, and that is Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, and she decided to mold herself after her favorite character, White Rabbit. But because of this breakdown, she decides to use the whole White Rabbit aesthetic and just commit crimes all over the city. That is not a good way to handle having a psychotic breakdown, I don't think. Obviously, we can see similar parallels between the two, from their erratic behavior to the crazy cute outfits, and being villains to icons such as Batman and Spider-Man. But I think people forget that both of these women are actually very brilliant young women. I mean, Harley Quinn is a doctor. She is Dr. Harleen Quinzel, and Lorena is very brilliant as well within her universe. So it's just an interesting thing to think of. Yes, they are crazy, chaotic criminals, but they're both brilliant as well. So what does that say? I don't know. I kind of want to dive deeper into that and try to find a connection there for another video. The letter I is for DC and Marvel Comics Isis. As a personal fan of Greek and Egyptian mythology, the fact that DC Comics and Marvel Comics both have a separate character based on the goddess Isis has me absolutely geeked. For DC Comics, Isis debuted in the 1975 cartoon series, The Secrets of Isis, which was part of the Shazam live-action series. Played by Andrea Thomas, she would gain the powers of this ancient goddess by yelling her name, similar to the whole Shazam thing, which, I love Shazam. I just love Shazam. Wouldn't that be amazing if Isis was in like the Shazam live action DC movies at some point? I would just be even more obsessed than I already am. Isis would join DC Comics canon in 1976's Shazam issue 25, will be written out of continuity after Crisis on Infinite Earths in the mid-1980s, would then return in 2002's Wonder Woman mythology, and ultimately become a powerful counterpart to Black Adam, who I love as well. DC's Marvel counterpart, Isis, is the goddess of fertility and the wife of Osiris, and is a common rogue against the mighty Thor, who debuted in 1975's Thor issue 240. Both Isis from DC and Marvel Comics mix the ancient and popular comic book mythologies, bringing together both a beautiful and unique way for a new audience to discover this powerful goddess. The letter J is for DC Comics' Jason Todd and Marvel's The Punisher. Both have blazing guns, family problems, and absolutely no problem killing. It is like a match made in inter-company crossover heaven. Created by Jerry Conway and Don Newton, Jason Todd debuted in 1983 and became Batman's second Robin the Boy Wonder after Dick Grayson took up the mantle as Nightwing for the new Teen Titans. Unfortunately, later in the 1980s, Jason Todd was murdered by the Joker in the book Batman: A Death in the Family. It wasn't until the mid-2000s that Judd Winnick resurrected and returned Jason Todd to Batman canon in the arc Batman Under the Hood and introduced Jason Todd as the new Red Hood. Seen most of the time as an anti-hero and Batman having a huge problem with his lethal ways, this black sheep has slowly become a part of the Batman family once again. Todd's lethal Marvel counterpart has to be Frank Castle, aka The Punisher, who was also created by Jerry Conway and John Romita Sr. Debuting in 1974's The Amazing Spider-Man issue 129. An ex-US Marine, Castle became a torturous vigilante of New York after the horrific murder of his wife and children. Both DC Comics' Jason Todd and Marvel Comics' The Punisher are feared anti-heroes who have questionable but, I suppose, effective ways into bringing their own vigilante justice to their respected cities. I don't think Batman would really approve of any of it. I mean, you've even seen it in the intercompany crossover between Batman and the Punisher, but what are you gonna do? Okay, bats can't control everything. K is for DC's Kirk Langstrom and Marvel Comics' Bruce Banner. Surprisingly, these two suffer with trying to control their inner monsters, which makes it a very interesting comparison to discuss. For DC Comics, Kirk Langstrom was created by Frank Robbins and Neil Adams in 1970, who, as a brilliant scientist, did an experiment that went horribly wrong, and it transformed him into this huge human-sized bat, naming himself Man-Bat. And when he is in this Man-Bat stage, he would terrorize Gotham, which meant that Batman and Robin had to go and stop him and try to find the serum to bring him back to Kirk Langstrom. This internal struggle can also be seen in Marvel Comics' Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk. It was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, debuting in 1962's The Incredible Hulk issue number 1. A brilliant scientist, similar to Kirk Langstrom, he was hit by a gamma bomb and he turned into this huge green monster that they dubbed the Hulk. Joining the Avengers in 1963, a year later in 1964, after Bruce was hit with a gamma ray, this resulted in the popular notion that Bruce Banner is triggered into becoming the Hulk when he is angry. And while that may be kind of cool, when he becomes the Hulk, now he doesn't have the brilliant mind of Bruce Banner. Although both DC's Man-Bat and Marvel's Hulk fight on the side of justice, at times for both of these DC and Marvel giants, it can be hard to have the will to do so. L is for DC's Lex Luthor and Marvel Comics' Norman Osborn. Superman's arch nemesis, philanthropist, billionaire, and powerful businessman and evil genius Lex Luthor. I love Lex Luthor, by the way. I think he is just, he's just. It was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster and debuted in 1943's Action Comics issue 23. Lex isn't just known for his glorious lack of hair and an awesome purple and green power suit, but his obsession with the Kryptonians and him wanting to take down Superman every single time because he thinks he is a literal threat to the entire world. Lex's Marvel Comics counterpart is the head of Oscorp, Norman Osborn, who was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and debuted in 1964's The Amazing Spider-Man issue 14. One of the most powerful men and having one of the most powerful businesses in New York, as usual, after an experiment goes horribly wrong, Norman decides to do the normal thing and becomes Spider-Man's arch nemesis, the Green Goblin. And he even aided to the death of Peter Parker's first love, Gwen Stacy, which was devastating. Funny enough, both Lex and Norman are two of the biggest baddies in the DC and Marvel Comics universe, and they don't have powers. They just have power, which is dope. I think we're halfway. M is the halfway point, right? I think. I'm sorry. Yeah, but we're halfway there. So if you're still here, awesome. Let's keep going. The letter M is for DC's Mogo and Marvel Comics' Ego. We just can't forget the living planets within these universes. Created by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, Mogo debuted in 1985, Green Lantern issue 188. Not only does Mogo house the Green Lantern of Sector 2261, but Mogo is also the station where all of the power of the Green Lantern rings come from. So he's very important. On the Marvel side, the character is Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Ego, which debuted in 1966, Thor's issues 122 and 123. Basically, Ego devours other worlds and Thor has to constantly fight it. You actually may be familiar with Ego now because Ego was Star-Lord's father in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. While one for DC Comics is good and one for Marvel Comics is bad, both of these definitely have out-of-this-world mythologies that everyone can enjoy. The letter N stands for DC's Nightwing and Marvel Comics' Winter Soldier. Now, if you have looked on any fan thread, you know that Nightwing versus Winter Soldier is probably one of the most popular fan battles ever on the internet. People want to see them fight so bad, and so do I, because it's just like the perfect pairing. As we know, Dick Grayson, aka Robin the Boy Wonder, debuted in 1940's Detective Comics 38 and became Batman's first sidekick. And in 1984, Marv Wolfman and George Perez created his mature persona of Nightwing, who was the leader of the new Teen Titans. Nightwing's Marvel counterpart is Bucky Barnes, who was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby and debuted in 1941's Captain America issue number 1. Similar to Grayson, Bucky Barnes became Captain America's first sidekick during World War II. Having a very similar background to Captain America, after World War II, Bucky Barnes died and was thought lost at sea, but then later was found frozen in ice, thawed out, and then eventually became part of the Avengers. But then in 2006, his background was completely changed. Bucky Barnes was found by the Russians with an arm missing, and the Russians not only brainwashed him and gave him a bionic arm, but made them their own lethal weapon. Of course, you can see that there are several parallels with these figures. Not only did both Dick and Bucky take up their mentor's mantle at one time or another, Dick Grayson becoming Batman and Bucky Barnes becoming Captain America in comic books, but they are both extremely gifted martial artists and acrobats. But I think what's most important to know is that Nightwing and Winter Soldier have paved their own ways from under the shadows of their very iconic mentors, giving their own mythology and becoming their own person within these universes. O is for DC Comics Outsiders and Marvel Comics Defenders. Mike W. Barr and Jim Aparo created The Outsiders, which debuted in 1983's The Brave and the Bold issue 200. After Batman decided to just leave the Justice League because the League wouldn't help him find a kidnapped Lucius Fox, Batman brought together metahumans to help him find Lucius, which included Halo, Black Lightning, Geoforce, Katana, and Metamorpho. Having a rotating roster throughout the years, the Outsiders' main goal was to stop powerful threats and villains before they committed atrocities and crimes. Now looking at the Outsiders' Marvel counterpart, we see Roy Thomas and Ross Andrews' The Defenders, who debuted in 1971's Marvel feature issue number 1. Headed by the Hulk in one point, very similar to the Outsiders, the rotating roster of the Defenders protected magical and supernatural threats to the universe. And they were even being dubbed the heroes outside of the Avengers. While JLA and the Avengers are the go-to teams for both DC and Marvel Comics, you can't forget the Outsiders and the Defenders' awesome powers and awesome contributions to keeping these respective universes safe. The letter P is for DC's Plastic Man and Marvel Comics' Mr. Fantastic. These two definitely extend themselves in their work. I'm sorry, the puns are back. I don't know what to tell you. Comedic Patrick O'Brien, aka Plastic Man, was created by Jack Cole for Quality Comics until DC Comics bought the character years later. But he originally debuted in 1941's Police Comics issue number 1. Originally a 2-bit criminal, after an accident dealing with a vat of very suspicious chemicals, that sounds familiar as well, Patrick gained these incredible abilities and was able to stretch his body in incredible ways. And after this near-death experience, he decided not to be a villain anymore, but wanted to actually help the people of his city and became the hero Plastic Man. Plastic Man's Marvel counterpart has to be Reed Richards' Mr. Fantastic, who was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and debuted in the Fantastic Four issue 1 from 1961, with Stan Lee even stating that Plastic Man was the inspiration for Mr. Fantastic. After being blasted by a cosmic ray, Reed Richards becomes Mr. Fantastic, who is able to not only extend his body to great lengths, but also has healing capabilities. Both being part of their respective teams, from Plastic Man with the Justice League to Mr. Fantastic with the Fantastic Four, both of these extendable characters are not expendables because they are all very important to their respective universes. The letter Q is for DC Comics The Question and Marvel Comics Jessica Jones. Created by Steve Ditko in 1967's Blue Beetle issue number 1, after a very well-known investigative reporter named Vic Sage started to use a mask that would wash away facial features, he became the Question and apprehended criminals in Hub City without his identity being revealed. The Question's counterpart is Marvel's Jessica Jones, who debuted in 2001's Alias number 1 and was created by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaydos. After gaining superhero strength due to a terrible car accident, Jessica opens up an investigative firm in New York to help fight bad guys. From Renee Montoya becoming the modern Question to Jessica Jones even having her own Netflix series, both of these characters are our two unconventional but very awesome investigative heroes within the DC and Marvel universe. The letter R is for DC Comics Ra's al Ghul and Marvel Comics The Mandarin. The eco-terrorist Ra's al Ghul debuted in 1971's Batman issue 232 and was created by Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. The head demon of the League of Assassins, Ra's not only wanted Batman to be the heir of his League of Assassins once he dies, but he also wanted him to marry his daughter, Talia al Ghul, who later on, Talia and Bruce do get together and they have a child named Damian Wayne, who is the current Robin. But since Ra's is completely evil and all of his plans for the League of Assassins just means death and eradicating most of the world's population to start anew, Batman just wasn't feeling it, and Ra's has become one of Batman's greatest enemies, even though he has this very interesting tie to Talia. It's all very complicated. Raz's Marvel counterpart comes in Stan Lee and Don Heck's character, the Mandarin, who first appeared in 1964's Tales of Suspense issue 50. A descendant of Genghis Khan, after he finds 10 rings that gives him extraordinary powers, this combined with his brilliant mind and even more brilliant martial arts skills made him want to continually try to dominate the world, and is always up to Iron Man to stop him, becoming one of Iron Man's greatest arch nemesis. two of the most powerful villains in the DC and Marvel Comics universes, being the enemies of two of the most powerful and popular heroes of the DC and Marvel universes, is one of the most perfect correlations that we have in our nerdy alphabet. Alright, we're on the letter S, let's go! I've been filming for a while. S is for DC Comics Superman and Marvel Comics Thor. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's Clark Kent, aka Superman, debuted in 1938's Action Comics issue number 1. Traveling from the doomed planet of Krypton, Kal-El lands on Earth and becomes mankind's ultimate protector with incredible powers and strength. And it is safe to say that Superman is literally the prototype of what the ideal superhero is within any fictional universe. I can only think that to match the immense power that Superman possesses, his Marvel counterpart has to be the mighty Thor. Created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Larry Lieber, Thor debuted in 1962's Journey into Mystery, issue 83. The god of thunder from Norse mythology, the mighty Thor has incredible strength, regenerative powers, and invulnerability, which makes him one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Comics universe, no matter what media. Both of these DC and Marvel Comics characters are founders of their respective teams of the Justice League and the Avengers. And if you think about it, if Superman and Thor came together, it would rock the entire universe. Crazy. That is just power that is almost scary to be combined together. Letter T is for DC Comics Two-Face and Marvel Comics Baron Zemo. Inspired by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Bill Finger and Bob Kane created the character Harvey Kent, who would turn into Harvey Dent, and debuted in 1942's Detective Comics issue 66. After the Gotham City District Attorney is disfigured by having acid thrown on his face, half of his face is disfigured, which triggers his mind into becoming not only obsessed with the number 2, but dual everything, and transformed into the villain Two-Face. This Obsessor of Fate's Marvel counterpart comes in Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Baron Zemo, who made his first full appearance in 1964's The Avengers issue 6. A Nazi scientist who always wore a red hood over his face, once he had an altercation with Captain America, an adhesive flew in his face and actually made the red hood and his face one. This resulted in both a physical and mental scarring, and Baron became one of Captain America's greatest enemies and even foils in comics. Both of these DC and Marvel Comics characters have been scarred in more ways than one, bringing to life not only two great villains in these fictional worlds, but also an interesting look into the psychology of how you decide if you want to be on the good side or the evil side. The letter U is for DC's Ubu and Marvel Comics Boris. The loyal servant of Ra's al Ghul, Ubu debuts in the same issue of the Head Demon and even goes toe-to-toe with the Batman. The Marvel equivalent of this loyal strong man comes in Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Boris, who debuted in 1964's Fantastic Four Annual Issue 2, who is the right-hand man of one of the Fantastic Four's greatest enemies, Dr. Doom. While Ubu and Boris are both baddies within the DC universe, you gotta hand it to the loyalty of some of the greatest enemies within the DC and Marvel Comics universe. E is for DC Comics Vandal Savage and Marvel Comics Apocalypse. Alfred Bester and Martin Nodel's immortal being Vandal Savage debuted in 1943's Green Lantern issue 10. With superhuman strength and regenerative properties, Vandal decided to use this immortality to fight leaders and rule nations throughout the course of human history. Vandal's immortal Marvel counterpart comes in Louise Simonson's and Jackson Guise's Apocalypse, who debuted in 1986 X Factor issue 5, originally named Insabar Nur of ancient Egypt. Learning that he has immortality, incredible superhuman strength, and a genius intelligence, along with having alien technology randomly. It's giving me such ancient alien vibes, and I just hate that. He names himself Apocalypse and technically is the first mutant in the Marvel universe. Both Vandal and Apocalypse have been threats for superhero teams for ages, such as the Justice Society of America, and the X-Men. Even though these beings are immortal, the heroes of the DC and Marvel Comics universe will continue to fight to stop their tyranny. The letter W is for DC Comics Wonder Woman and Marvel Comics Lady Sif. William Moulton Marston's Amazonian goddess Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, debuted in 1941's All-Star Comics issue 8. Based on Greek mythology, Diana is a heroine who fights for justice, love, peace, and sexual equality. Also has incredible strength and abilities, and is a founding member of the Justice League of America. Naturally, Wonder Woman's Marvel counterpart has to be Lady Sif, who was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and debuted in 1964's Journey into Mystery issue 102. One of the strongest Asgardian female warriors in the entire Marvel universe. Sif teams up constantly with Thor to fight villains like Loki with her incredible strength. Both DC's Wonder Woman and Marvel's Lady Sif represent incredible female heroines who are not only fan favorites but embody ancient mythology, which I love. The letter X is for DC Comics Dr. Double X and Marvel's Fenris. Dave Wood and Sheldon Moldoff's Silver Age wonder, Dr. Simon X debuted in 1958's Detective Comics 261. After X developed an identical energy twin, he decided to use this for his evil advantages and began doing crimes across Gotham City, which meant Batman and Robin had to stop him and his evil energy twin. So weird. Double X's evil Marvel double counterpart comes in Chris Claremont and John Romita Sr.'s Andrea and Andreas von Strucker, aka Fenris, who debuted in 1985's Uncanny X-Men issue 194. Created by Hydra and raised under the Nazi Party, so we're already off to a great start. When these two twins would join hands, they can create an incredible energy source and was taught to use this energy for evil to fight teams like the X-Men. It's safe to say that DC's Dr. Double X and Marvel's Fenris create double trouble in their respective universes, and you do not want to cross paths with their energy sources. The letter Y is for DC Comics Yoyo and Marvel's White Rabbit. Now I know that might sound familiar, but follow me here. Yoyo is the alternate version of Harley Quinn in Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert's Flashpoint. Yoyo is actually the counterpart still of the Joker, but in this universe, Thomas Wayne is Batman and Martha Wayne is the Joker. Yoyo's Marvel counterpart, which is also seen in the letter H of this unique alphabet, is the White Rabbit, who appears in an alternate timeline in the 2000s Marvel Adventures Spider-Man and teams up with Spider-Man villain Venom, all while keeping the White Rabbit Alice in Wonderland aesthetic. These DC and Marvel Comics characters may come from alternate universes, but they still show their psychotically fun and very daring and dangerous personalities. Did we seriously make it to letter Z? That's amazing. I was so worried we wouldn't get here. Z is for DC Comics Zatanna and Marvel Comics Scarlet Witch. Created by Gardner Fox and Murphy Anderson, the whimsically magical Zatanna debuted in 1964's Hawkman issue 4. The daughter of the powerful magician Zatara, Zatanna's use of magic is probably one of the most powerful in the DC universe. In particular, her fun incarnations, which typically are phrases spoken backwards. I can't think of a better magical Marvel counterpart than Scarlet Witch, who, like I mentioned earlier, is Quicksilver's twin sister. Scarlet Witch was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and debuted in 1964's The X-Men issue 4. She is not only said to be the mutant daughter of Magneto, but also has the power to alternate reality with her powerful magic. Both DC's Zatanna and Marvel Comics Scarlet Witch have joined forces with teams such as the Justice League and the Avengers, and have been featured on the big and small screen, making their magic known to different audiences in all walks of nerdy life. If you stayed for this entire alphabet, I thank you so much. I know it was a roller coaster of this nerdy ABCs, but I so much enjoyed making it. I also wanted to show you guys it's okay to like both, because both complement each other so well. Like if you like Batman, you would probably like the stories like Iron Man or Captain America. The bottom line is you can love both universes. I love all of it, and I hope that you guys from this alphabet list learn to love characters that maybe you didn't think you'd like in the first place. And I just hope that it broadened your nerdy horizons. And I really hope you enjoyed the ABCs of DC and Marvel Comics. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a bat thumbs up. As always, all of my social media is linked in the description below, so why don't you give it a follow and become a Gothamite. Check out my videos for DC Comics DC Fans channel, and as always, please subscribe to this channel so you become a part of this wonderful Gothamite community. It would mean so much to me. If you are seeing Endgame this weekend, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we will have more History of the Batman soon, right here on YouTube. Remember, Gothamites, all about peace, love, and Batman. Bye.